Hello, and welcome to Spokane County Spotlight. I'm Commissioner Josh Kerns, and my guests today are Joel White, Executive Officer of the Spokane Homebuilders Association, and Arthur Whitten, Government Affairs Director. Joel, Arthur, welcome to the program today.
Thanks, glad to be here.
Thank you. Today, we're going to be discussing what the Spokane Homebuilders Association does in our community and housing trends in our region, among other topics. First, I'd like to give our audience a little introduction to you gentlemen. Joel, you've been the Executive Officer of the Homebuilders Association since 2005. Could you give a little background about what you did prior to joining the Spokane Homebuilders Association?
Well, straight out of college, I came to work for the Spokane Homebuilders Association as a government affairs assistant. So I was a low man on the totem pole and worked my way up. So I actually, we worked there for about 3 years. My wife and I, we moved over to Vancouver, Washington, worked for the Homebuilders Association in Clark County, Washington, and about 5 years. And then when the opportunity came, they called me and asked me to come back and interview, and got the job, and I've been doing it for the last 12 years. So it's a great opportunity.
Wonderful, wonderful. Arthur, could you tell us a little bit about what you did prior to joining the Homebuilders Association?
Sure, so I'm new to the Spokane Homebuilders Association. I joined here in January of this year as the Government Affairs Director, and prior I had experience working in state government, working for a state senator, and also working for a member of Congress. So I had some experience working for elected officials, staff from local, state, and federal levels of government, now using that experience here as the Government Affairs Director.
All right, wonderful. All right. Joel, could you please give us a brief overview on the services that the Spokane Homebuilders Association offers to our community?
Yeah. So the Spokane Homebuilders Association has been in existence. This is actually our 70th anniversary year. And we're here, our core purpose is, we say we promote, protect, and inform our community and our members of housing-related issues. So we're trying to do good things, positive things, making sure that we have vibrancy. Our biggest issue is we promote home ownership. That's really what we want to see, is a strong home ownership. We believe that builds better communities, a stronger community, more engaged community. There's a lot of people that live in different types of housing. We believe in various housing choices, and so we're trying to make sure those opportunities are available in our community.
Absolutely wonderful. I mean, and that's one of the things that makes our community so great, is the varied options that we have when it comes to housing.
Yeah.
Kind of thinking along those lines, so suppose I was going to build a new home or remodel an existing home. What are some of the services that the Spokane Homebuilders Association would be able to offer someone like me that would be in that position?
So we're trying to really inform the community through various opportunities. We want to provide information on how to purchase a home. We want to provide information on where those houses are available. And also, we're not only home building, we're home remodeling as well. So we want to make sure that they hire contractors that are registered contractors that have all of the qualifications necessary to meet their project needs. So that's really what we're trying to do, to inform them and provide opportunities where they can actually tour homes as well.
Okay. Could you give our viewers kind of a little sort of an idea on what the current housing inventory is, market demands, any barriers that currently exist in our region?
Yeah, no, so we are in a hot market, as you would say, is that there's a very low housing inventory, existing home inventory, it's very low new home construction inventory. There's not a lot of spec homes going into the market. So we've seen a big uptick in the last 2 years. We're building homes, our average numbers are around 1,400 building permits a year, and we're about last year we did a little over 1,500. The biggest change was that we had a huge uptick in multifamily market, where we're building, I think we had 1,800 units built last year in multifamily permitted units.
Okay, okay. So we've talked about sort of your connection to the community and home buyers, and but what are some of the services that or benefits that the Spokane Homebuilders Association offers to those in the construction industry, in the construction services?
Well, one of the big issues that we do is we provide advocacy. Again, going back to home ownership. Every time a new regulatory burden is put on the housing industry, and we have numbers from our national association, we called it our priced out model. So for every $1,000 that a cost of a home increases, about 380 families, Spokane area families, are priced out of the ability to purchase a home. They're just taken out of that opportunity. So we also are trying to support our community. We want to see economic growth. If our community is not growing, they're not purchasing homes. They're forced into housing situation they may not want to be in. We want to give them the American dream of home ownership.
Okay. Where do you see the sort of in the near future? What do you see as far as the prospects of the housing market in this area?
Well, we're running out of lots and available land to build on, and that's a big concern for our members. There's other issues as well. Workforce, it's a big issue. So I think there's a number of challenges. What's happening is because of our income levels in Spokane, we're building a lot of multifamily projects, which are great. It's a great housing option. What happens is when your home ownership level in a community drops, if you look at Harvard models, other information is that you see higher, when your home ownership levels drop, you see higher crime rates, you see higher teen pregnancy rates, see lower income, different various social, societal issues. So it can be damaging to a community when you see higher rental numbers.
Okay.
So that's one area of concern for us.
Okay. All right. Okay. Arthur, I want to kind of turn it over to you. Being fairly new to the Home Builders Association, but well versed in the issues that they're facing. The Hearst decision has been a big one that we've been hearing about in this community. Can you kind of give us a little bit of background about the effects that the Hearst decision has had on the home building industry and kind of what you see coming down the roads in regard to that, as far as the impacts and maybe even opportunities that we see?
Absolutely. So the Hearst decision was a landmark Washington State Supreme Court case which was decided in fall of 2016. And what that court case affirmed was that counties have the duty and obligation to evaluate and determine legal water availability prior to the issuance of a building permit. And what that's done is that it's moved counties away from the ability to rely on the Department of Ecology's water resource rules that has been the precedent for many years in regards to permit exempt wells drawing less than 5,000 gallons of water a day, mainly used for residential domestic purposes. What that's done in Spokane County and many rural parts of Washington State is that it's created a great amount of uncertainty when it comes to property ownership and future home building. We work with our builders and also property owners on what this means for their future property values and abilities to have legal water available to them to build their dream homes.
Okay. So what role, or is there anything the Spokane Homebuilders Association is doing sort of in response to the Hearst decision?
Absolutely, and this is a major legislative priority for us. So working with our state association, we're following proposals out of the state capitol in Olympia. We support Senate Bill 5239, which is a solution to essentially revert water policy back to the day before the Hearst decision, allowing counties to rely again on the Department of Ecology's water resource rules as they pertain to permit exempt wells. Locally, what we're doing is we're working with our elected officials, our county staff, on educating our members, educating property owners on county interim ordinance and other proposals to address water rights within Spokane County's water boundaries.
Okay, okay. And from your perception outside of coming from outside of county government, what do you think the perception is that this has had, that the Hearst decision has had on the county's building and planning department?
Well, I guess to put it in perspective, I know, so this was a Washington State Supreme Court ruled on this October 6, 2016. October 27, 2016, it went into effect statewide. And in those weeks that followed, I know the Spokane County building staff and department were open extraordinary hours processing building permit applications from property owners and contractors coming in that were facing that uncertainty from following the Hearst decision and what potential impacts it might have. I know since then, the months following, Board of County Commissioners have passed an interim ordinance with ways to address the Hearst decision in both the WIRAs that have in-stream flow rules and do not have in-stream flow rules within Spokane County. So we've been able to work closely with county staff and building on what that new ordinance does and ways to get our builders building again.
Okay, okay. And so you mentioned an in-stream flow rule, and so one of the areas we actually discussed this on a previous episode of Spokane County Spotlight, and where we've seen a major impact is the Wyra 55, or the Little Spokane watershed, which is roughly the north half of the county, and that seems to be the area that's most impacted by this Hearst decision, but. One of the options that Spokane County is looking into is the creation of a water bank.
Yes.
From the home builder standpoint, I mean, do you think that that's a feasible option? Is that something that you think would help your industry and allow for development and construction to continue? Is that something that you guys support from the Spokane Homebuilders Association?
No, that's exactly right, and that's something that we're looking at, because when a solution comes out of Olympia, Spokane County still needs to address Wyra 55, Little Spokane River's in-stream flow rule. And to summarize briefly what that in-stream flow rule does is it makes the river a senior water right holder since 1976, making it very difficult to establish new water uses in the Wyra 55 Little Spokane River. And what that means for property owners and builders is that we need to find a way to mitigate and establish new water uses in Wyra 55. And the water bank, acting as an enterprise fund by Spokane County, operating as a bank where the county will purchase from willing sellers senior water rights and then make those available to property owners to establish a new domestic use, a new water use in Wyra 55. It's absolutely an opportunity to address Hearst's decision, address Wyra 55's in-stream flow rule, and have our builders begin building property owners' dream homes again.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Are there any other legislative issues that are in the works, or things that you guys are monitoring that would have a direct impact on the work that you do at the Spokane Homebuilders Association?
No, absolutely. And this, as you know, Commissioner, this is a budget year in Olympia. It's our state legislators are down there right now. The second special session just started, where they're negotiating our next 2-year biennium's operating budget. And as part of that, they're negotiating state government's basic services, including public education and the other services that state government provides. And we absolutely have an interest in that in regards to education, workforce development, getting the funding that our industry needs to grow and thrive. Here locally, we worked with our state representative, Bob McCaslin, very closely on a bipartisan bill to allow school siting outside of urban growth areas. Bipartisan bill, passed the Senate, passed the House, ultimately received a partial veto, and we look forward to continuing to work with our legislators on positive bipartisan legislation like that supports Spokane County and the building industry.
It just it seems there's just so many moving parts that impact the work that you folks do to allow somebody to construct a home and live there. I mean, it's amazing how many moving parts there are to this.
Most people don't understand how heavily regulated the construction industry really is. There's many different challenges a builder faces every day, and a land developer as well.
So my next question is for you, Joel. One of the things, I guess you could say, kind of the trends, the things you hear about is kind of sustainability in construction. Are there any types of initiatives or programs that the Spokane Homebuilders Association are working on to promote sustainability in construction? Well,
first off, I want to say that Washington State already has some of the most stringent building codes in the nation. The energy code that was passed about 3 years ago really raised the standard of new construction. So new construction in our state is already a very sustainable product. There are other folks that focus on, we have programs that through our National Association on a statewide program. So we have a green certified program, we have a national building green standard, and then also the Built Green program that our members can opt into. What we found is that there is a niche market in Spokane County, but it's not a high demand. So our builders react to the demand of the public, and so we haven't seen that as much here. But they are building, and they're capable of building as many different varieties of homes as a buyer will pay. The issue is a lot of these options that people want to see, there's additional cost. And so most customers choose, they want square footage over maybe a more sustainable product. And so, but builders, we gladly, and of course our suppliers would gladly sell those products to them. So it is a great option, and a lot of people we're starting to see that change. And again, if you can save energy, I think energy savings are the key element. When you can see that, hey, I'm going to be able to reduce my cost in my home, the maintenance cost, and be more sustainable, that is a big factor that's happening nationwide. And we're seeing it now coming into Spokane.
Okay, okay. Is the building industry facing any type of workforce shortages? Or are you struggling to find people to work in that industry?
I mentioned that earlier, and it is a huge issue right now. We are actually seeing fewer homes being built. That the demand, that's part of the reason for that high demand right now, is the builders can't build fast enough because they can't find enough subcontractors to actually construct the home. There's been a huge issue with and it's a societal issue where basically you're seen as a failure as a young person moving into the construction industry. If you don't go to a four-year college, you didn't succeed in life. Well, that's not true. You have great careers. Average construction workers making over $50,000 a year, has great ability. You don't have some of the stress of burdens of some other types of careers that might be available, and you come straight out of college, straight onto the workforce. You don't accumulate debt, and you have a very rewarding career. You get to see what's done every day at the end of the day. It's just a great opportunity, and we're trying to promote those careers to our community.
Okay. You mentioned sort of the perception that some folks out there have if you go into those types of industries, but what's sort of driving that? What's pushing those perceptions, and what can be done to encourage younger people to get into the trades industry? And do you guys have any programs that try to encourage folks, or at least show them the options that are out there as far as career paths in construction?
If you go back to the 70s, we had shop programs, 70s, 80s, 90s, there were shop programs in all of our high schools. And because of the cost, there is a higher cost for career technical education, CTE funding, that's been reduced in our state. And so we're advocating for more funding in our schools to bring back some of those programs, because every student is not built for a certain careers. We want to have students that they have a dream, they want to build and be part of this. And it's all manufacturing and trades. We're just seeing a decline in that. And so there's a stigma, again, talking about that. So we're trying to get those CTE funding back into the schools. We're working with the schools, talking with them, and they're actually responding. They realize that we've moved too far one way. Everybody had to go to college. That you're, like I said, going back to, you weren't succeeding if you weren't moving on to a higher degree. And so I think that's happening. We have had a apprenticeship program for over 20 years, carpentry apprenticeship program. We've trained, it's a 4-year certified program through the state Department of Labor and Industries. They actually come out with an apprenticeship journeyman certificate, and we've had hundreds of employees come out of that program over the years. So it's a great opportunity. And we actually have a program, there's also at Airway Heights Correctional Facility, we have a pre-apprenticeship program for the prisoners at Airway Heights, and that's been very great, rewarding, and we've been doing that for over 20 years and working with the Department of Corrections, and it really brings them back into the workforce with some skill sets. So they're coming in and they're getting hired immediately.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We spoke earlier about sort of the sustainable construction.
Yeah.
Are there any other trends that you're seeing that are gaining some traction or starting to become popular in the Spokane region?
Well, I think that it's not happening as much in Spokane yet, but it is coming. Part of the restrictions caused by the Growth Management Act, restricting the boundary and land, and is forcing people to move into the urban core. Maybe not at their own will, which is what we believe you should be able to choose where you live, but that's what happens when you do that, and it's happened in communities across the country. When you tighten the belt on development, you move into the inner core, you build into more density, smaller homes, living spaces, maybe a condo, apartment complex. So you're pushed into more urbanized living. So that will be what I see happening, and that's because of our Growth Management Act. So it's not something the county commissioners, you're doing what you can to do, and we appreciate that. But it is a mandate from our state, and it's something I don't fundamentally agree with, because I think you should have housing choices, your private property to build on. But I think you were seeing that, and there are some potential savings. Again, there are positives to this with infrastructure improvements, but I do think that that's one of the trends you're going to see. I know nationally you see the tiny home movement. I think that's a fad, but it's also exciting to see people coming up with creative designs. So I think you will see more creative designs, because in your smaller space you have to be more creative with the use. So I think that's something you will see.
Okay. Have those tiny homes started popping up in the region? I know when I had gone to one of the construction or new home expos at the convention center, there was 2 of them on display there. But are those something that are actually popping up in neighborhoods or around the community where people are actually living in them?
Anytime you have something new, there's going to be some business owner. We have a lot of entrepreneurs in our community. They're going to try to take an opportunity and see what they can do. The challenge is some of our codes, our development codes, are not conducive to allowing small homes. So cottage home ordinances or smaller homes, that's what you're going to need to develop the land differently and design a plat differently than what you would do with a traditional lot. So you're not going to build a tiny home on an acre lot or even a 10,000 square foot lot without all of the surroundings, the landscaping involved. So you could build on smaller spaces. I could talk about, we're going to build denser environments, but it would be almost a community you would build versus just a one-off lot where you put a tiny home on it.
Okay, just again showing the regulations and how many moving parts there are to being able to construct a home on your property.
It's challenging to build some of these products in Spokane. And what we've seen very positive things, but like Kendall Yards, where you've seen cottage homes being built there. You see some cottage homes on the South Hill as well. So it's a great lifestyle option, and we advocate for all these different options, because certain people have different interests. Some people want to live on property, some people don't want to have that maintenance. They'll live in a condo downtown. That's great. We support all those options.
And Joel's right. We're seeing this as an emerging industry, and we're working closely with our local governments on those licensing and code issues. But we're also seeing it, some of our builders, as a charity option, building supporter housing and some of these emerging housing trends. And that's just another benefit that the local building industry brings to the community.
Okay. Can you touch on some of the volunteer and charity endeavors that the Spokane Homebuilders Association has embarked on?
Yeah, so in my time here, we built a number of we built playhouses, chicken coops, other projects, and we've donated them to charity. So we've raised tens of thousands of dollars for Wishing Star organization over the years, and different charities. We're going to be building, in a couple weeks, we're going to bring a team up to Habitat for Humanity to be part of their Blitz Build program, encouraging our members to support that element. So again, we're trying to find housing related issues where we can use our skill sets that our members have to come in. We've supported the Extreme Team that Mark Peterson does in our community, just trying to find ways to bring value and show, because our members, a lot of times, it's that bad developer. Our members live in the community. They coach hockey teams. They coach Little League. They're engaged. They're involved in their churches. They give back to their community. So even though the association has these specific projects, our members are really giving back to the community in many ways, because they live here. They're your neighbor. Our members, they're your neighbors. So
that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Could you go into a little more detail about different kind of benefits of your members? And I mean, do you have networking events where members from different industries can kind of make those connections and work together to advance their industry, or I mean their businesses as well as the businesses of your other members?
Again, our business is serving our members. Of course, we want to serve our community as well, but we need to take care of our members. So we're trying to help them be more productive in their business, so we provide them with networking opportunities to build their relationships inside the industry. We also provide education to make them a more professional business, that they can be more productive, they can be financially stronger in their business. We provide insurance programs and other benefit programs, discount programs, some through our state and national associations, that they can benefit association health plans that we provide to them. The other big thing that we have are the advocacy side. So we're trying to help them be more profitable, because we believe there is need for protection, but it's when it protects the health, safety, and welfare of our citizenry. Sometimes it's, hey, we want to see this different color and or this different design. Well, that's very costly. And so when that's mandated versus a voluntary purchase by the owner, we would support that. You know, we want to see voluntary options for to meet the market demand.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're running a little short on time, but are there any final thoughts that either of you would like to leave with our audience today?
I would say just the take-home point is the tremendous community value the Spokane Homebuilders Association brings to this community, the many benefits we've talked about today, that we are part of this community. Also, we've talked about some of the major legislative priorities, issues going on, and I'm confident that we'll find a solution working with our Board of County Commissioners, with our state government, to address those issues this year.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. Looks like we're out of time. Well, so I'm afraid that we're out of time today. I'd like to thank my guests, Joel White and Arthur Whitten from the Spokane Homebuilders Association, for joining us. I'm Commissioner Josh Kerns. Thank you for joining us today on Spokane County Spotlight.